Donald Trump is all set to meet the Russian President Vladimir Putin.
He said that this is really a feel-out meeting.
Allies that Kyiv may be pressured to agree to a deal that favors Russia.
Basic fact of the meeting is that's not a good look. That's not a good look.
Trump has said several times that there could be an agreement on land swaps.
This meeting could be the most consequential meeting of the year.
Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin will meet. The leaders of the two nations, pitted against each other by history, culture and politics, will discuss the invasion of Ukraine. But there will be no Ukraine. That is not a joke. That means while the White House and Kremlin possibly hash out the future of Europe, no European nation will be a part of that conversation.
This could have been a third world war. I don't think that's going to happen now. But I thought it was very respectful that the president of Russia is coming to our country as opposed to us going. You know, I have a great relationship, I think, with all of them. And I get along with Zelenskyy, but, you know, I disagree with what he's done.
It might be a cruel joke on former European colonizers who decided the fates of nations and people around the world with little to no input from those actual people. But what about Ukraine?
Що стосується перемовин, в будь-якому випадку вони важливі на рівні лідерів. Але говорити про Україну без України неможливо, і ніхто це не прийме. Тому розмова президента Сполучених Штатів і Путіна, безумовно, може бути важливою для їх двостороннього треку, але нічого про Україну без нас вони прийняти не можуть. І я дуже вірю і надіюсь, що президент Сполучених Штатів це розуміє і усвідомлює.
Ukraine won't be part of the meeting, and the American president will decide what to tell Europe and Zelenskyy. What does this mean? Simply that Donald Trump could decide what happens next in the war in Europe. Reliable reports say Russia currently holds almost 19%, or around 114 to 500 square kilometers of Ukrainian territory, including Crimea. That is bigger than Bangladesh, Greece even. This extends to major chunks of territories in east and southeast Ukraine. Reports suggest Putin's final plan involves a larger occupation. On the other hand, Kyiv does not hold any recognized Russian territory. The European Union's backing of Ukraine has put the world in a unique position, one where two of the strongest allies, the Americans and EU and Britain, may be at loggerheads. No one has made anything clear, but words like great betrayal have been thrown around. And so, experts have flagged Ukraine's exclusion as profoundly alarming.
This is a profoundly alarming moment for Europe, and I include in Europe Ukraine. In the worst case, Trump might be persuaded by Putin to try to end the war by accepting Russian sovereignty de facto or even de jure, legally, Russian sovereignty over the areas of Ukraine that it claims, which go even beyond the areas that it currently occupies.
The best-case scenario is both presidents sitting down and hashing out a deal. But remember, this is a listening exercise.
This is a listening exercise for the president. Look, only one party that's involved in this war is going to be present.
Why not invite Ukrainian President Zelenskyy to that summit?
This meeting came about because the president of Russia asked the president of the United States to meet through his special envoy, Steve Witkoff, who, as you all know, traveled to Russia to have a conversation with Putin at his request. And so the president is agreeing to this meeting at the request of President Putin. And the goal of this meeting for the president is to walk away with a better understanding of how we can end this war.
He said that this is really a feel-out meeting. He said, I'm going to meet with President Putin and we're going to see what he has in mind. And if it's a fair deal, I'll reveal it to the European Union leaders and to the NATO leaders and also to President Zelenskyy. I think out of respect, I'll call him first, being President Zelenskyy, and then I'll call them afterwards. And if I may say, lots of luck, keep fighting, or I may say, we can make a deal. I've seen a poll out of Ukraine, the president said, 88% of the people would like to see a deal made. Lastly, he noted, as he does, the death is incredible. It's the worst thing that's happened by far, the worst that's happened since World War II. So I'm going in to speak to Putin, and I'm going to be telling him, you've got to end this war. You've got to end it.
The location, which took everyone by surprise, will be Alaska. It'll be Putin's first trip to the US in 10 years. There's an ICC arrest warrant in place for Putin for accusations of war crimes in Ukraine. But since the US is not a member, there's no obligation to arrest him. The absence of Ukraine is alarming European allies that Kyiv may be pressured to agree to a deal that favors Russia. It's hard to see what the summit could produce in terms of a concrete peace plan for Ukraine, given the Ukrainian and Russian positions on how to achieve this are so far apart. Trump has said several times that there could be an agreement on land swaps. Whatever happens, the meeting is a diplomatic coup for Putin, who's keen to show that he's not isolated and has a place at the table alongside the US president.
At the same time, the EU is extremely active on all fronts to support Ukraine and put Ukraine in a position of strength.
And as per usual, will not be able to go into details. All the negotiations are obviously confidential, but the key and core element remains our pressure on Russia works. This is why they want to get rid of our sanctions. So this is why we're continuously working on adding more.
I think the lesson that I've learned in observing Trump at work is it's a mistake to let yourself be governed either by your fears or your hopes. Where I think he has a lot of difficulty is in fully grasping that other people have agency. You know, that Putin has his own objectives, and honestly, they have nothing to do with a long-term settlement with Ukraine or anybody else. The Ukrainians have agency. They know what's awaiting them if the Russians ever get the upper hand. The Europeans have agency. They are much, much more alive to the immediate Russian threat. And so the result is he cannot simply impose his will by fiat, which I think is what he most desires to do. And for the rest, I'm afraid we're just going to have to wait and see.